The Expendables movies were once massively popular, so why are audiences treating the fourth movie like it's, well, expendable? Here's why The Expendables 4 was a box office dud. Let's address the biggest elephant in a room full of them. The Expendables 4 performed badly because of its extremely poor reception among critics. The film scored a bad Rotten Tomatoes record, hitting an initial rating of just 15% on the tomato meter after 84 reviews. That number places it among some of the worst-rated films of 2023, such as Fool's Paradise and Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Many critics have singled out The Expendables 4 for having a bare-bones plot, poor performances from the cast, and lackluster action sequences cluttered with low-quality CGI. In its review, Lupus' sister site /film gave the movie a score of 3 out of 10, writing, "The characters are inhuman, the premise is absurd, and the plot is idiotic. This is a Saturday morning cartoon with booze, F-bombs, and a mild libido. It's staggeringly stupid." According to Deadline, The Expendables 4 had a fairly small advertising budget of just $20 million in the run-up to its debut. As such, it's likely that the film completely flew under the radar for many casual consumers who otherwise might have been interested in seeing it. Deadline further suggested that the lack of advertising surrounding The Expendables 4 was actually a conscious effort on the part of the film's distributor, Lionsgate, as the company surmised that the movie was not going to be received well. To further complicate matters, the road to the premiere of The Expendables 4 took place amid the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike and the WGA strike, so a lot of the film's cast couldn't promote their projects during the strikes, as doing so would constitute crossing the picket line. Thus, The Expendables 4 saw its release in September with little to no fanfare. If there was ever something that could be remotely considered a zeitgeist surrounding The Expendables, it happened in the early 2010s. Back when these movies first released, they built on each previous entry in quick succession, with more action-packed plots and eye-popping cast additions. That's why the 9-year wait for The Expendables 4 has made it feel like it's late to the party. The landscape of Hollywood looks quite different compared to the last time The Expendables reared its head. Streaming has changed the way people watch movies, and companies need to work harder than ever to provide convincing reasons for audiences to head to the theater. Rival franchises like Fast and Furious and Mission Impossible have grown even bigger, filling the vacuum left by movies like the early Expendables films. Audience tastes have shifted too, with superhero movie fatigue and sequel reboot exhaustion growing ever more pertinent. The tolerance for a clunky action movie revival is at an all-time low. To say that The Expendables never had a chance at seeing success after such a long stint away from theater screens isn't quite right. However, if the franchise really wanted to stand out in the modern day, it needed to grow past what it once was and deliver something compelling. Instead, The Expendables 4 slid in the opposite direction and failed to match the spectacle and fun factor of the earlier films.
Why don't we have dinner?
Sure, when?
In 1,000 years.
Too soon.
If there's one thing big blockbuster action movies are known for, it's their uncanny knack for landing casts filled with recognizable talent. The Expendables 4 isn't a complete slouch on this front, as it unites returning franchise actors like Sylvester Stallone, Jason Statham, and Dolph Lundgren, with new additions like 50 Cent and Megan Fox. However, it's tough to deny that its cast list pales in comparison to the star-studded lineups of previous entries, which included massive names like Harrison Ford, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Chuck Norris.
Rumor has it you were dead.
Yeah, I heard that too. So how's life treating you?
There's nothing inherently wrong with having a movie cast that isn't completely stuffed with huge A-list celebrities. However, The Expendables has a legacy of doing just that, and the star power behind this fourth entry in the series feels weak compared to what has come before. With few actors to draw general audiences in on name recognition alone, the film isn't as popular as it could have been. Some would-be viewers may have also been put off by a certain shift in dynamic among returning stars for The Expendables 4. While Stallone's character, Barney Ross, has historically been the face of the franchise, pre-release information on the movie made it apparent that he was passing the starring role over to Jason Statham's Lee Christmas for this latest entry.
Hey, why are you here?
I got this situation where I need your help.
I need bad friends.
But that's a change that may have rubbed at least a few fans the wrong way. There are a lot of problems with The Expendables 4 that contributed to its box office failure, but solely placing the blame on the movie itself would unfairly ignore the difficult path that The Expendables 3 set up for it nearly a decade ago. For those less familiar with the history of the franchise, The Expendables 4 is not the first critical stinker in the saga. At the time of its release in 2014, The Expendables 3 was similarly panned by critics and failing to live up to the expectations set by the first two movies. It stands to reason that some fans who felt burned by The Expendables 3 may have written off The Expendables 4 just by virtue of the quality of its predecessor. One also has to account for the fact that being the fourth movie in a franchise can be a bit of a tough sell. Some potential viewers might be under the impression that watching previous entries in the series is required in order to understand what's happening in the newest film. Then there's a simple fact that sequels are risky commercial territory for just about any franchise. Some sequels fare better than the original in terms of box office performance, but others can't manage the same level of retention. The Expendables 3 already had a lower box office gross than The Expendables 2, so The Expendables 4 is just following that downward trend.